Do you truly know someone? Can you? This question is the trend of Chihiro's journey in the story of Kagurabachi. Friend, father, country's greatest swordsmith, and hero. These are the titles that Chihiro knew his father by. Titles that Chihiro would find don't even begin to scratch the surface of the man he knows as his father. Kunishige Roku. At the start of the story, you are shown Chihiro, our main character, with his father and their daily life. Switching from scenes from smithing to chill moments to smithing to eating to back to smithing again. Giving us a glimpse into the daily life of the Rokuhiras, where they eat, sleep, and clang metal all day, every day. This was Chihiro's daily life, his entire world, until the day that world was shattered when his father was killed by the Hishaku and his family legacies were stolen. The enchanted blades, magically crafted swords that were crafted by his father and gained fame during the Seitei War, a war that built his father's legacy. Chihiro was on a path to get back the family swords and for revenge. Then enters Sojo, a huge fan of Kunishige's work, who claims he knows Kunishige the best after studying one of the enchanted blades, Cloud Gouger. And it's after meeting Sojo that once again Chihiro's world is shattered. How Sojo shouts with his chest that Kunishige wasn't some wise sage, but a master craftsman of weapons of destruction. Weapons better than any sorcery. And this challenged Chihiro's worldview of his father, of when he was constantly being told that his father was a hero. He believes that, and still does, as is one of the many contrasts between Chihiro and Sojo. Both are fighting for the legacy they both to be the real Kunishige. Chihiro understands Sojo's version as it might just be another face of the father he doesn't know, but he also completely rejects it, as it's not the face his father has shown or the lessons he was trying to teach and pass down to him. Kunishige can be called a hero, father, friend, rival, or inspiration, but those are just the POV of others. As the story gets deeper into Kunishige, his relationship with the sword bearers and the enchanted blades, we see what the power of the enchanted blades can do and why they're so desirable, as it goes way deeper than the swords having more abilities than your average normal sorcerer. They are some of the most dreadful but also the most beautiful sorcery you ever see. The contrast between destruction and recreation makes you question what kind of man Kunishige was to make the enchanted swords in the first place. Or what was the Seitei War like for him to even have to make swords like these. The story hasn't stated in which order the enchanted blades were made, but we know how many. 7. 7 enchanted swords, each different than the last. 7 is a magical number like the 7 deadly sins, the 7 virtues, or the 7 stages of grief. And as they say, blacksmiths or artists put a bit of their soul in each of their works. And it makes sense that this would be true for Kunishige and the enchanted blades, and that the enchanted blades would be a peek into the man known as Kunishige Rokuhira. The 7 stages of grief: shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and bargaining, depression, reflection and loneliness, the upward turn, reconstruction and working through, acceptance and hope. As we know, Enten, the first sword we see in the story is also Chihiro's sword, was the final sword made by his father, and just from order of appearance we can only assume Cloud Gouger was the first sword created. Seeing how each sword varies in abilities and use, we can see how each sword can mirror the stages of grief or the stages of the war that Kunishige went through mentally, and just how different each sword is. How Cloud Gouger can be looked at sort of a playful, lighthearted, which can mirror the disbelief or shock of when the war was announced and not really taken seriously, versus how Enten, the final sword, is probably the most peaceful and soothing sword out of the 7, which would make sense as the final and 7th sword would also reflect the final stage of grief, acceptance, and hope. As the sword Enten even has Japanese goldfish as a symbolic motif, each with a different color: black, a protective symbol against evil and misfortune, red for good luck, and calico for balance. It comes together as Japanese goldfish are symbolic for tranquility and beauty, which also makes a great final sword to match the final step. Acceptance and peace. It can be acceptance of Kunishige's role for the swords and the sword bearers and his role in the war, or acceptance of what swords are, that though they can be pieces of work, they are still tools of murder. Which is one of the reasons Sojos assumed that this was the entirety of Kunishige was. So through these swords, we can picture who Kunishige was, how, and who he came to be. Just like Chihiro, as we learn more about the enchanted blades in the Seitei War, we also learn through the swords who is the man known as Kunishige Rokuhira.